Hello everyone and welcome to my newest project. My quickies around the Rust programming language. As you know, over the last years I have produced a lot of SQL Server quickies where I have talked about specific concepts in SQL Server, and now I want to do the same with the Rust programming language. So in each Rust quickie I want to demonstrate you one specific feature in the Rust programming language. In today's quickie, we will start with an overview about that new programming language, and I will show you how you can implement your first Rust application, the famous Hello World program. If you want to learn more about Rust, you can visit the Rust website at rustlang.org, where you find more information about Rust. The first release of Rust was already done a few years ago in May 2015, and Rust is mostly used for system programming stuff. So all the things that we have done in the past with programming languages like C and C++ can be done in a more efficient and also in a more secure way with the Rust programming language. Even the Windows kernel is already using some parts of Rust. Back in May, Mark Rusinovich has tweeted on Twitter or X that Windows 11 will contain some Rust code in the Windows kernel. So concentrating on Rust these days is very important, because over the time you will see that programming language more and more used for system programming. When you're working with the Rust programming language, the Rust compiler just generates you native machine code. This is also very important to know. When you are working with other programming languages which are based on the .NET framework, or when you are working with Java, you always have a runtime environment in the background which is used by that programming language. But Rust is here completely different. Rust just generates you native machine code, and that native machine code is just executed on your CPU. Rust itself is available for all major operating systems. So you have Rust on Windows, you can write Rust on Linux, on Mac OS, and even on a Raspberry Pi device you can also write Rust code and also execute that Rust code on your Raspberry Pi device. Why is Rust now so important for system programming? Well, one of the key features of Rust is the fact that Rust provides you a secure memory management. When you are coming from C and C++, you know that you have to manually allocate memory on the heap, and you also have to manually deallocate those memory regions on the heap. When you don't do the necessary deallocations, your application just has memory leaks, which are very bad. On the other hand, when you're working with programming languages in the .NET framework or with Java, then these programming languages are working with a so-called garbage collector. The garbage collector is just a background process which is running periodically in the background of your application and just deallocates all those memory regions on the heap that you don't need anymore. This is great for you as a developer because you don't care about memory deallocations, but on the other hand, when the garbage collector kicks in, your application just stops for a very small time, and this of course can lead to serious performance problems, especially when you are working in the area of system programming. And Rust is using here a completely different approach. With Rust, you still have to allocate memory on the heap, but the deallocations of those memory regions are just done automatically by Rust without using a garbage collector. So you just have a deterministic runtime performance for your applications. In one of the upcoming Rust Quickies, we will look into that feature and I will show you how Rust performs that magic for you. Before you can work with Rust, you of course have to install Rust. The easiest way is to go to the website rustup.os, and based on your used operating system, that website just provides you an installer which you can download, and with that installer you can afterwards install the whole Rust environment with the Rust compiler, the documentation and other tools that you need. I've already done that here on my Windows-based system, and when you have Rust installed, you have that application called Rust Up, and with that application you can manage your whole Rust installation. For example, with Rust Up -- version, you are getting back which version of Rust you are running here. I'm running here the version 1.74.1, which was just released a few days ago. Okay, let's switch now to Visual Studio Code, where I want to show you now how you can implement the famous Hello World application with Rust. I'm here already within Visual Studio Code, and I have already created here a file called helloworld.ros. The extension ROS is used for Rust source code files. When you're working with Visual Studio Code, it's also very important that you are installing that Rust Analyzer extension, because with that extension you have a full Rust language support within Visual Studio Code. Over the next Rust Quickies we will explore that extension in more detail, what you can do with it and so on. So we are here now in that file helloworld.ros, and our goal for today is to print out the famous hello world string to our console. So first of all, we need to define the main method which gets automatically called when we start our application. So in Rust you have the fn keyword. With the fn keyword you can define a function, and we define the function main without any parameters. So that function is automatically called when we are starting our program. Then we define here a new code block, and now we have to write out something to the console. And in Rust you have here the so-called print line macro. A macro is defined with the exclamation mark. In one of the upcoming Rust Quickies I will also talk how you can define your own macros. And within that macro we just define the string that we want to print out to the console. So we print out hello world from the Rust programming language. That's all. Let's save that file. I have stored that file in my T drive. So as you can see here, I have here that file helloworld.ros, and now we have to compile that file to native machine code. One way to compile Rust code is directly with the Rust compiler Rust C. In the next Rust Quickie I will talk more about Cargo. Cargo is the package manager within Rust, and with that package manager you can also compile Rust code. But today, to make things easy, we just use directly the Rust compiler Rust C. We pass in our file helloworld.ros, and now the compiler has worked. When we do an ls again, you can see we have a hello world.exe program, and because by default you're generating a debug build, we also have BDB files, so the program database that you can use for debugging. Let's run that program. Let's run hello world, and as you can see, hello world from the Rust programming language. You can take now that exe file, you can copy it to a different system, to a different Windows installation, and it will work. As I've said in the beginning, when you are working with Rust, the Rust compiler generates you native machine code. I'm running here on Windows 11 x64 processor, means in my case Rust has generated native x64 machine code. We will also look in one of the upcoming Rust Quickies into that machine code to get a better understanding how the Rust compiler works and which assembly instructions the Rust compiler is emitting in different scenarios. So as you have seen today, it's very simple to work with Rust, to install Rust, and to generate your first Rust application. I hope you have enjoyed that Rust Quickie, and I will continue next week with another Rust Quickie where I want to talk in more detail about the cargo package manager. So thanks for watching, stay tuned, and see you soon next week. Thank you.